I was thinking, oh my gosh, we got two down, are we gonna get a quorum?
When I have two down, we start making phone calls. When we have two down, we start calling to make sure we have a quorum. All right.
So, are we ready?
We're ready.
All right, call the meeting to order. If we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 3 is the adoption of the agenda and the consent agenda as the order of business, and we could identify any items that we want to have taken off for discuss as a separate action. Is there a motion and a second to accept the agenda and consent agenda as our order of business?
I make a motion to accept the consent agenda.
Second.
Anybody want anything taken off? All in favor, say yes.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. And then let's approve the consent agenda. Do we have a motion and a second to approve that consent agenda?
I make a motion we approve that consent agenda.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any comments or questions? All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, say no. Number 5 is the board reorganization. It's the election of officers. We have 4 positions that we elect this time of year: the president, vice president, clerk, and secretary. We'll start with the president. Do we have a nomination for the office of president of the school board?
I nominate Richard York for president.
I second that.
Any other nominations? All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
And opposed, say no. The second position is the vice president of the school board. Do we have a nomination for the vice president position of the school board?
Can we nominate Bob?
Yes?
Have you talked to Bob about it?
I told
He
him
would
that
be-
the possibility might exist.
Did he accept it?
He didn't say he wouldn't.
Okay.
I mean, he didn't say he would. He just said, oh.
My communication with Bob is he would if it came.
Okay. I nominate Bob Travis.
A second.
Any other nominations? All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, say no. Okay, that brings us to the clerk. And do we have Sally Isley has been serving in that position, and do we have a nomination for the office of clerk?
I nominate Sally.
You willing to do that, Sally? Do we have a second on that?
I'll second that.
Any further nominations? All in favor of Sally serving as the clerk for another year, say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, say no. And then we come to the treasurer, which has been filled by Jamie Gambrell for the last year. Do we have a nomination for the office of treasurer?
I nominate Jamie Gambrell.
I'll second that.
Willing to serve, Jamie?
Yes, sir.
Any further nominations? All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
And opposed, say no. All right. We have the positions, the liaison positions, and there are 3 of those liaison positions that we appoint. The one is for the Community Ed Advisory Board. And Sally, you have been serving on that for 3 years. Willing to continue that?
I am. I enjoy that committee.
Okay. Well, I'd like to appoint you
Okay.
to serve in that capacity. The Family Resource Center, Jamie, you've done that for the last year. Are you interested in doing that again?
Yes.
Okay. And I'd like to appoint you to that position. The Plymouth Educational Foundation Board, Bob has served as the liaison to that, and he's not here, so I'd like to Do you
I
have something
think-
to say about that?
Yeah, I think, Bob is pretty involved, and he also serves on the grant committee, so I would think he would want to continue serving on that.
I would think that too, just based on
It's a
being
passion.
part of that board and.
All right, then I'll appoint Bob to serve on the Education Foundation. Now, we have two functioning subcommittees right now that we're going to appoint to, and the first one is the Facilities Committee. Jamie, Sally, and Bob have been serving on that, and for the sake of continuity, since we're in the middle of the construction project, it would make sense that they would continue in that capacity. And Jamie and Sally, you're willing to continue? I'd like to appoint you to that, and I think it would make sense for Bob to continue in that capacity as well. Now, the other one is the Personnel Committee, and Bob and myself have been serving on that. Tim had been on that, and so we have an open position on the Personnel and Salary Committee. That committee meets 3 to 4 times a year. Usually in the springtime is when we meet. And so 3 or 4 meetings, hour to an hour and a half apiece is about the time commitment, usually in the spring. Is there anybody that's interested in serving on that, along with myself and Bob?
I'd be interested in it.
You be? Okay. Very good. Well, I'd like to appoint you to that then, Philip Zelmer. And very good. That takes care of the appointments of our subcommittees. Let's move on to the Board and District Leadership Team Strategic Planning. Superintendent Dassow, do you have a legislative update for us?
Yes, we did meet with the legislative breakfast yesterday, and we're able to discuss with our legislators where we're at in the budget process. And the Joint Finance Committee has been working diligently on the budget, and it looks like Thursday is when the education budget is going to be coming up. So right now, I do believe, and John will have it in his PowerPoint for the very preliminary budget approval, but that we're probably looking at a $200 increase with the $100 low spending. Nothing's in stone, but that seems to be the direction that we see going. And then also probably the biggest thing right now up in the air is the special education funding. What will we get? Will the special education funding be increased? And at this point in time, I know that the governor's budget was asking for a 30% and then a 60%, and I think that the Joint Finance Committee is looking at more of a 25 and maybe working it up a little slower than working it so quickly. So right now, that's kind of where we're at, and sort of should wait and see what happens on Thursday, I guess.
Is there anything that we or the citizens of our community should do at this point?
I know that the hearings have all taken place, and there have been a lot of people who went forward and advocated for the budget to come through. I think, to me right now, I just want and hope that we have a budget and that it doesn't go back and forth and get caught up. And so I think, probably just hoping that everybody can come together and work something out so that we can move forward. And that would be a great thing.
Very good. Any questions? We took care of the consent agenda.
He just didn't read it. You don't have to read
I didn't take
it.
time to read all of the details underneath it. Yeah, thank you. All right, let's move on to the academic pillar of excellence. We have the Parkview Elementary Bird Club, and John Rory is here to talk to us about that.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Bird Club, interesting title to have on the agenda. I'd like to say that I came up with that idea, but it was actually hatched back at Fairview. When John was the head custodian at Fairview, and he brought the idea to Parkview when he came over to Parkview a number of years ago. So John's going to come up and share what he does and the activities he does with the students, and then we'll see if there's any questions at the end of that. So, John, the floor is yours.
Well, thanks for having me on the agenda tonight to talk about this. I know I have 5 minutes, but the bucks don't start for about 20 minutes yet. So. No, I'll be quick about it, but like John mentioned, starting at Fairview, but a lot has changed, just since the 13 years, and it's good timing because 13 years ago, it's actually today that I finished up the bird watching part of it today in Sarah Lee's class. So typically I just choose one third grade class each year, and then we divide them by 4. And then when I pay attention to who's doing the best job of paying attention and really seems to be interested, then I just go one more week with just the kids that are really just showing a true interest in it. So then we just go out again, and that was what was done today. With all the construction going on, it really drowned out a lot of bird noises. So we ended up with 28 species, and typically we go low 30s to mid 30s, but it was a pretty good year, I would say. But it's been nice. This year we got a grant last year from the PEF, and that was nice to have the kids get their own binoculars this time, and they're just suited for them too. With an elementary level, it's easy for them to hold in one hand and adjust that little focusing wheel. And I noticed they really got to see the birds, real readily. So that was nice to have that addition instead of sharing my binoculars with them. And then typically at the end of the year then, or at the end of the bird watching session, I just compile all the birds that we had seen from the year-round birds in one column, and then the spring, summer, fall birds, so they're here, the migratory ones that nest, and then the ones that just are passing through, which is very rare to get one that just passes through and nests in the Arctic. We haven't seen one yet, all the years actually, so it's kind of a surprise. But I just, list who the teacher was and then who the observers were, not all the kids' names, but just, Mrs. Lee's third grade class. And this kind of evolved into kind of a bigger deal because the bird city, Plymouth being a bird city now for several years, one of the things that we do now is have the mayor, Don Pullman, come and read the International Migratory Bird Day resolution. And him doing that just allows us to be a sustaining member as a bird city. They always want us to do more, of course, just an organization like that. But Plymouth is lucky to have a river going through it, so it just brings in a lot of migratory birds. And the grounds on Parkview, having that nature center, that really is nice. And being a neighborhood school like that, too, it's kind of somewhat of a rural setting, really, on the edge of town, so we get a lot of birds that come around there, too. So it's always exciting to see what there has been, over the years too. People are seeing eagles a lot more often now, and osprey nests in the area as well. So some of the rules that are made up are, that they can be seen and or heard on, over, or from the Parkview school. So even if we see an eagle way in the distance or birds at the feeder of a neighbor's on Chaplain Court or wherever else, we can count that because we're on the grounds. So that's kind of fun to get more diversity that way too. Yeah, and then one other thing. I usually choose one second grade class to dissect a nest. When I talk to the kids about invasive species and the ones that are native, and that kind of comes up on this sheet, but when I tell them about the English sparrow, that's usually what's in the nesting boxes that we try to set up for the bluebirds. But they usually, the second grade would dissect a nest and then give me a list of just everything they found in that one nest. And English sparrows in England are actually called a weaver bird, not an English sparrow there. But it's kind of neat. The kids are always excited to pull apart that nest and lay it on a sheet or on their carpet on the floor and just list everything that's in that nest. And so that's it, kind of in a nutshell. Well, there's 19, Sarah Lee's class only had 19 kids. Can be up to, of course, as you know how many students there could be in a class, 23, 24, but I just choose the one. In the third grade, they just seem to be really interested. They're really inquisitive and serious enough to really, you can kind of rein them in. They're not just running around just too much. And tomorrow will be the time that I'll be presenting the bird. This sheet made up. I did that today. And then I'll be bringing a bird book, a Wisconsin identification bird book. So that was nice of the PEF. Now I can get that through them too. And then some playing cards that just have bird identification on the playing cards. And then also a stained glass. Well, it looks like stained glass, but they're little coloring books that I can give all the kids. So that'll just be a little extra nice things for them to keep going with. Another thing with Shelley Taylor, she downloaded a really nice bird app, the Merlin bird app, and that's through the Cornell University. It's just an excellent app, and it's a free one, too. And she has it on the iPads, and the kids take turns looking up the birds. If we hear them only, but I want them to see the bird, I'll just have them look it up. And I would say, well, there's the look of the bird that's making that sound. So it's kind of a good way to talk to them about taking care of our planet, too. They're seeing plenty of litter around the place, too, so you can kind of put your dig in about taking care of the planet. And we're walking through the nature center, and you just see how busted up it is, because kids they just are destroying it. You say, boy, what kid would be doing that? So you can kind of put your dig in for taking care of trees and bushes and things, too, so I kind of add that as well. So any questions about anything at all? Boy, maybe I could talk to somebody about maybe if they'd want to do it there, but yeah, I guess the timing part maybe after retirement. That's not a bad thought. To go over to those schools, that's not a bad thought, really. Just to introduce other kids in different areas and see what's there as well.
Might see a different variety of birds.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So this is a really good example. John is the head custodian at Parkview Elementary School, and this is something that he just took on with the students on his own and started. And this is a great example of our mission statement with always learning and building relationships, and just I would say going over and above to be able to bring outstanding learning experiences to our students. And thank you to the Plymouth Education Foundation also for supporting it. But John, your extra efforts and just your interest in taking the kids and helping to share your interest with them is pretty awesome.
Well, thanks for your support with it. I really appreciate that. It's my pleasure.
That my son is in it right now. Okay, Enzo. Who I'm sure is one of your most interested ones, because all he does is come home and talk about birds. He's taught me more about birds in the past couple of months than I can imagine. He's brought things to school, I know, to show you some nests. I think maybe a hummingbird nest he had.
Yep, you mentioned about that in a feather.
The feathers.
Yeah, he is very interested. Yes, so boy, he's
unbelievable.
He's
we just moved out into the Kettles, so we go walking through the woods, and we saw some owls this weekend.
Nice. Boy,
we have hummingbirds now that are living next to us, and we have a pileated, who I actually saw one time. He flew up next to me, and got that big.
Oh, yeah, right.
And we have trees that are just destroyed by him. So, but yeah,
he was in today's group. Yeah, he's a special.
You're making a
special.
big influence on him.
Well, thanks for sharing that. Appreciate that.
We
Okay,
appreciate that. So thank you.
Thanks a lot. Well, thanks for your time, everybody.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you, John. The next item is the approval of the Plymouth High School 2019-2020 curriculum guide. It's our job as the school board to approve the curriculum. And Dr. Rauscher, is there anything you want to say about that?
I don't think anything new since I presented at the committee of the whole last night, but if you have additional questions.
We did go over this at the committee of the whole last week. Any comments or questions? Do we have a motion to approve in a second?
I make a motion that we approve the curriculum for next year.
Seconded.
All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, say no. The next item of business is the approval of the Memorandum of Understanding for the Off-Site Facility Use for the 2019-2020 Off-Site Alternative Education Program. We looked at this again at the Committee of the Whole last week, and for the community's understanding, perhaps Dr. Rauscher or Dr. Gasso, you could share with us a little bit about that so the community understands what's going on.
So tonight we're going to ask the board to consider the approval of a memorandum of understanding with New Life Community Church, and this will be for a facility use of a pilot off-site alternative education program. And we've talked about this a few times throughout the year, and the memorandum of understanding and the program was discussed in detail at the Committee of the Whole meeting. and in May. And this memorandum of understanding will be for 1 year, and we will review it along with the success of the program at the end of the 2019-20 school year. So that's pretty much what we're looking at right now, is that memorandum of understanding.
Do we have a motion and a second to approve the memorandum of understanding?
I move that we approve the memorandum of understanding.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any comments or questions or further discussion on that?
Did you guys come up with a tricky or a cute name yet?
We have not yet. We don't have our students selected, and they have to help.
All right, all in favor of approving the memorandum of understanding, please say yes.
Yes.
And opposed, say no. Let's move on to finance, buildings, and grounds. We have a preliminary budget for the 2019-2020 school year to approve, and we discussed that. John, could you explain that for the sake of the community here?
First, I'd like to stress the word preliminary here. If I told you everything I know for certain about the state budget, this would be a very short presentation. But I will tell you what assumptions that we made in creating this budget. Budget's probably somewhere around 95% right at this point, because obviously we will, at the very worst case, have the same law in place as we do right now, but what monies we get additional from the state are very much up in the air as the state moves forward with that budget. Take a look at our revenues, comparing them from last year to this year. They won't quite match what's on the handouts that you get each meeting, because I removed the safety grant from our current budget. A safety grant, we do not have fully budgeted for next year yet, so to get an apples-to-apples comparison, I removed it from basically both budgets. The safety grant won't affect the bottom line. It would just be additional dollars spent and additional dollars in revenue. Like, it's just a grant that we get reimbursement from, which would probably add between $70,000 and $100,000 onto both sides. But there is no attempt in this budget that I'm going to present tonight to forecast a tax levy, because there are a plethora of aid suggestions out there about how much aid will be added to the budget, whether that aid will be actually used to expand revenue caps or lower taxes, or whether there'll be any aid at all or end up as a categorical grant. So what I basically did was utilize a formula to determine the revenue limit, which is aid plus, in the simplest terms, general aid plus tax levy, and that is forecasted in the grand total. So don't really look at local sources going up that much, because that's probably the very most the tax levy could possibly go up, and some of it will appear in the state sources line, which is actually going up very little there. Overall, we're looking at about $438,000 increase based on the assumptions made in this budget. Those assumptions are, as Carrie stated before, to have a $300 increase in allowed revenue limit per student. That would be $200 that's sort of being proposed. Probably the greatest area agreement in the state budget by both the Democrats and Republicans, and then the continued existence of the $100 lower bump that was sort of started in Plymouth and is in state law now, but it's not entirely certain how that will be affected if the revenue limit goes up by $200, whether that will be recognized in addition to that or not. We're projecting that it will be. From my conference, a lot of people are fairly confident it will be. The district has a estimate right now of a slightly decreasing student count. If we held our enrollment the same next year as we did this year, our 3-year rolling average would actually decrease by 16 students, so we are in a slight downward trend. We are, in the budget projections we made, we are saying that we went with the Evers plan of adding to the revenue limit as opposed to what some Republicans are discussing, which is adding the $200 to the per student categorical aid. Actually, if they did add it to the categorical aid, we would come out about $20,000 better off because of certain exemptions coming off our revenue limit. But we kind of tried to pick a middle ground for this budget, so I went with a slightly more conservative plan in terms of the dollars we would receive. And then special education, This, on the federal side, we will fully utilize all of our federal grant dollars we had available for 2018-19 and any carryover that we had been carrying forward from the past years. It'll fully be gone, so our special ed federal funding will be only the current year funding available, and that will basically show a decrease in revenue. As you can see here, our revenue limit, based on that $300 per student, would go over $563,000. We have a slightly declining number, at least on the roster right now, of inbound open enrollment students. That number would be down roughly 10, so that's the kind of number that would decrease there. And then that federal IDA funds available, we'll have about $113,000 less next year because we're fully using our carryover. So that's how you net out at that this figure, that $438,000 increase, with a few other changes, obviously. On the salary and expense side, something we're a little more certain of, we are looking at, on the salary and wages side, an overall increase in the total compensation we provide of 3.17%. That includes all salaries and all benefits for all employment groups. So we're going up roughly $640,000 there. That includes a 2.44 negotiated increase in the base rate of pay that the board approved, I believe, at the last board meeting, plus supplemental increases for our teachers and administration. There's a pool of about $75,000 estimated for our support staff. Those evaluations are ongoing right now. That's subject to small changes, but that's kind of the normal historical number of increase. Our health insurance premiums went up 4.7%, and that was not without decreasing the kind of coverage we have in our plan to some degree. We increased our deductibles and other items in co-pays within the plan to achieve that. Could have been worse. We are having some retirees at this point drop off the pension plan. That saves about almost $52,000. Now, other retirees will be going on. That's not yet budgeted, but quite often that is offset by hiring someone at a lower salary rate in the summer. And we have virtually no staffing changes built in the budget, except one that's a zero-sum game where they're reducing teacher aide hours at Horizon so they can add one new teaching staff member, but that should be a budget-neutral activity. There'll be less hours available for aides and one additional teacher. On the other expenditures, we are looking at actually overall a reduction in the spending here, a slight reduction, and it's actually over 2% reduction if you take out the line that says due to other school districts, which is our growing outbound open enrollment roster, which is what it was at when we took the measurement a couple weeks ago. Otherwise, our budgets that have been submitted by staff, departments, schools have actually gone downward slightly, so we're about 2% overall lighter in services, supplies, and equipment to help close the deficit in this budget. But overall, at this point in time, we still have an operating deficit of roughly $292,000 in the negative. That's not necessarily unusual at this point in time. Over the summer, and you'll even see some on our agenda, where we have staff leave and are often replaced by less expensive staff in terms of their salaries and whatnot. That helps close that. Sometimes we have changes in open enrollment that will help roster, that will help close that deficit. There are other activities that go on. Last year, we came to the annual meeting with around $100,000 deficit. I'm not sure we can get that close this year, but I think that might be a goal over the summer to find ways to save some more money in the budget. We do, however, need a preliminary budget approved tonight because there is activities in the summer which we do need to fund. Certainly summer school, certainly some of the maintenance activities going on, certainly our year-round staff needs to be paid, all of those kind of things. That's why the board approves and certainly there's purchasing that goes on for the next school year that occurs in the summer. And that is why the board needs to approve a preliminary budget tonight so we can begin those sort of spending for next school year. What can change over the summer? Again, as I said, new staff will be hired. Our WRS rates will be released for 2020. That will slightly change our fringe benefit package. They could go up, they could go down. They could stay the same, which is almost what I'm guessing this year because of the investment returns that were generated in 2018 were kind of flat. So I'm guessing that the change in that, if we had a great year in the investment cycle, then sometimes those rates go down. If we have a poor year, then they tend to go up, but I think relatively flat for 18. Could be, I haven't heard anything different anyway. We will have our actual summer school costs in there. I think those will actually be less this year because we are reducing our summer school from 5 days to 4 days. That will save some money in the hourly costs and in busing. Our summer hiring will be complete. We'll know what our enrollment is, and we'll include the safety grant budget, revenue and expenses to fatten up both those budgets when we know exactly what we're going to be spending it on for next year. In other budgets that you'll be approving, hot lunch budget, if we look at it this year, we're likely to finish somewhere around break even. Sales have declined a little bit. I think that's partially to do with enrollment, partially to do with maybe some of the upsetting activities that are occurring at maybe Parkview because of the different lunch structures. There seems to be more releases out of the high school, different things going on. But Tony has done a good job of maintaining our labor and costs within the allowable dollars that are coming in. And we did implement that credit card system, and last time I took measure on the account, the cash received over sales. Our cash received is actually outpacing our sales this year. That's the second year in a row. So our receivable number that we've had in the past year of like past due balance is coming down, at least trending downward. So I think that has partly to do with the credit card system, partly to do with the phone call system and different measures we've instituted to try and bring those late due balances back in. And the budget next year largely duplicates this year's activity. On the community ed side, they're showing somewhat of an operating loss. I'm going to guess it's around 80K at the end of the year. That might be a bit high. There's often late revenues that are recorded. Fitness center certainly was affected by the construction, the sales in that area for memberships and activities was definitely down. But the program had built up fund balance over maybe the last decade, so we had at least a $400,000 fund balance coming into this year, and they had a lot of plans to spend capital money both this year and next year in community ed. I know there's money dedicated to the building project for like the showers and things that have been approved in the fitness center. They're buying their own furniture, some features in that area. So they're doing the installation of the middle school, that outdoor exercise equipment, things, all kinds of capital expenditures to bring down their fund balance, not really operating, it's more one-time costs. But, and there is some hope, once that new facility is open, we will be able to restore some of the additional fee income from it, and that will get them somewhat closer to a balanced budget. Obviously, one of the board goals has been that the community education relies more on fees and less on tax levy, and I don't believe that will be the case this year, but I think there's a chance for a turnaround in 1920. And that is the end of my presentation. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to do it.
We do need to approve that budget.
Do we have a motion and a second to approve the preliminary budget?
I make a motion we approve the preliminary budget.
Second.
And do you have any comments or questions for John?
Did their own job as usual.
Doing our best.
All right, all in favor of approving it, please say yes.
Yes.
Or say no. The next item is the facility subcommittee update, and Bob Travis is not here. I wonder if, Dr. Dassow, you have something to share with us about that.
Yep, we are looking at the external part of the high school. It's coming along very well. You can see it growing out there, and we should see completion of this project on that side of the high school around the middle of August, just in time for school to start. The science and culinary parts of the high school, the internal areas, will begin right away. School is out on June 10th. You'll see construction happening there. I think that the district office and the high school office will still be functioning, but will need to be coming into the doors out in the rotunda area. The Parkview demolition is really underway and pretty much done, except for the office area, which will happen at the beginning of summer. And then Fairview School actually begins right at the beginning of summer too, right away school gets out. So we're moving along pretty well, and hopefully we'll be able to celebrate some of the successful construction real soon. So, yeah.
Very good. And then we have to consider approval of gifts and their corresponding budget adjustments.
Yep, tonight we have actually multiple gifts. We have a donation from Teresa Jones for approximately 1,000 feet of ash, birch, maple, and red oak lumber to be used in the Technology Education Department. A donation of $507.50 from Johnsonville for the high school 180 breakfast. A donation of $250 from Sargento to offset the cost of transportation to Six Flags Great America for Physics Day. A donation of $743.40 from the Plymouth High School Model UN Club for transportation to Marian University and the UW-Milwaukee. A donation of $2,318.21 from Riverview Activity Fund for transportation to Generations, Milwaukee Museum, and Discovery World. A donation of $245.40 from Parkview PTK for transportation to visit the Siberian Huskies. A donation of $475.90 from Horizon Path for transportation to visit the Plymouth Fire Department, the Pumpkin Farm, and to Riverview Middle School to see the musical Shrek. A donation of $772.30 from Fairview PTO for transportation and admission to the Above and Beyond Children's Museum, Sheboygan YMCA, and the Stephanie Wild Center. A donation of $200 from Jump Rope for Health for Fairview Elementary School. A donation of $249.19 from the Boys Basketball Booster Club to purchase a popcorn machine for the concession stand. A donation of $500 from the Plymouth Education Foundation to support the students at Fairview Elementary School Student STEAM program. A donation of $479.96 from Plymouth Education Foundation to support the students at Riverview Middle School's new indoor garden. And a donation of $344.93 from the Plymouth Education Foundation to support the students at Horizon Elementary School's daily yoga. So thank you very much. I would recommend that we accept all of these donations and their corresponding budget adjustments with a huge thank you to our community for the support.
Do we have a motion to accept and approve the gifts as well as the budget adjustments? And then a second?
I make a motion that we accept the gifts and the budget adjustments.
Second.
All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, say no.
Can I just say, I think it's amazing the amount of support we get from the community.
Right.
And from the students and everyone else involved to allow our students to have all these enriching type activities. And it wouldn't happen unless the community chipped in and were so generous.
Yeah.
So thank you very much.
Very good. Let's go down to policy. Now, we need to consider the second reading on the policy updates for Volume 28, Number 1, as well as some school safety policy updates. But the first action we need to take is to waive the reading of those policies. So if we could have a motion to waive the reading of them, that would certainly be to our benefit.
I move that we waive the reading of the policies.
Second.
And all in favor say yes.
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 And opposed, say no. The policies themselves, we've gone over that in our Committee of the Whole, and last month we did the first reading, so what we need to do is approve these policy changes, and then they will be published and take effect. So do we have a motion to approve them? A second?
I make a motion, we approve the reading of the policy.
Second.
Any comments or questions? All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, say no. There's a period of public participation. Katrina, did anybody sign in? Okay. Board liaison reports. Community education. Sally, what's happened there?
What's happening in community ed? Registration for the summer classes will start this Thursday at 9 a.m. You can also register online. There will be some new classes. One is called Baby Steps. It's going to be parents with their young ones in strollers. They're going to do a walk and then come back and have about a 15-minute strengthening and stretching exercise with the strollers also. There's a new class called Total Body Training for fitness people. Another class is meditation. Another class is community garden, getting out into the garden. So twice a month, people will go to the different schools, because every school has a garden, and they will work there, they will weed it, and they will partake in the vegetables that are being grown there also, and also learn about. They will not just go and work in the garden, but the instructor will teach about what's been planted and what they will be harvesting. Also, Hot Topic and Wellness. They will meet once a month, and it's a group that will discuss and explore wellness. They'll set goals for themselves. They'll learn about local resources that are available to have them stay healthy. And then for adults only, they have field trips. Not just the kids get field trips, but the adults. One will be at the perennial farms. These are free, but you must RSVP. Also, the other field trip will be at Christian Life Community Church, because they've been renovating the old bank down on that end of town. And if you've never been inside, I was shocked when I was there last fall how huge it is inside when I got my own personal little tour when I popped in one day. So if you want to go see what it's like without going to a church service, that'll be the time to go check it out. Also for adults, they have a class called Backyard Chickens, if you want to raise your own chickens, and also a dog obedience class, if you have a dog that needs some training. Any questions?
Thank you, Sally. The foundation, Bob is not here. Do we have anything to report on the foundation?
I would just report that the grants came out actually at the end of last week, the beginning of this week. So I think that Bob will have a full summary for us in June of all the grants that we were able to, the foundation was able to give out to the staff and the students' activities for next year. So that would be probably the biggest thing.
And I think scholarships
Oh,
should
right.
be coming out. Scholarship
Actually-
night is coming up next week, is it?
Nope, actually, we had scholarship night last
Okay.
week, Wednesday. I'm going to report on that in my thing, but yes, the foundation also was able to hand out their scholarships too, so, yep.
Very good. Jamie, what's happening in the Family Resource Center?
Okay, Family Resource Center. I guess just as a recap of what the Family Resource Center is, it's actually a Sheboygan County-wide program that is supportive of two areas, really. They've got kind of two sections. One is like a parents as teachers section, and then there's a tutoring, English as a second language. They have tutors available for anyone that would like help with learning English or even improving their English. But parents as teachers really is I'd say the largest portion that deals with, and like I said, it deals with the entire county. But what happens is if you're interested, if you've got a child that's 12 months or younger, you can apply to have a trained teacher that's trained in child development come into your home and help you with child development and getting the most out of being a parent and giving you great ideas and techniques of how to work with your newborn infants, what to look for developmentally, signs, and that can go on for as much as up until 3 years old. So for information on that, you can contact the Family Resource Center at 920-892-6706, or you can email Pat at frc-sc.org. All this is on the website, which you can find at familyresourcesheboygan.org. And just a couple things coming up, because I like to keep everyone in the loop. Little Naturalist Playgroup is the fourth Wednesday of each month, so on May 22nd, which is tomorrow. They'll have that at 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock, and that's at Generations. It's free. They're having museum fun with little ones on July 23rd. Again, they're going to the John Michael Kohler Arts Center. That's also free, but the request that you do register by July 16th. They're having outdoor games for all on August 7th. That's also at Generations. We do use Generations a lot of great things going on there. That's $5 per child, payable by August 1st. And that's basically, they're going to have all sorts of interactive, fun evening outside adventure games. And something that's new, I haven't seen this yet, but infant massage. It's a 5-part series starting September 10th. It'll be in the evenings at Generations, and that also is free, but they require sign up by September 3rd. So that looks like a really interesting way to connect with your new infant, and I'm sure it's beneficial for both parent and child. So that's all I have.
Very good. Thank you, Jamie. The last area is the Professional Development Council. I've served in that capacity for the last few years. And the Professional Development Council is getting feedback from the council members and then from the teachers through a Survey Monkey. Just at the end of this year, what worked, what was good, what do they need? And so they're kind of gathering all the information together to begin planning for the next year. So that's kind of what's happening with that. You may notice that we didn't appoint somebody as a liaison to that. And the reason being is that it's so much, professional development is so much a part of the DNA of the school district that it's happening organically rather than through a structured meeting, and it's now more building-based. So as such, to try to report on that, trying to make to a meeting to then report out on that has become increasingly more difficult. So in talking with the superintendent, with Dan, thought that we can it's important for us and for the community to know what's going on in professional development, but we think we can do that through some presentations at these board meetings, perhaps through the report of the president, rather than a monthly reporting out of a meeting that often doesn't happen because it's happening in so many other ways, just kind of as they're walking along, it's happening. So that's a new trek that we're going to take with the Professional Development Council. You'll be hearing about professional development because it is a huge part of our school system, but not through the liaison report. In personnel, Dr. Dassow, can you lead us through the personnel changes?
So we have 3 resignations. I'll just take those 3 together, if that's, tonight we have, first of all, the board will consider the approval of the resignation of Elizabeth Bacon, special education teacher at Horizon Elementary School, effective at the end of the 2018-19 school year. Elizabeth has been with the school district for 3 years. The board will also consider approval of the resignation request of Stephanie DeVries, agriculture/science teacher, agri-science teacher at Plymouth High School, effective at the end of the 2018-19 school year. And Stephanie has been with our school district for 2 years. And also the board will consider the approval of the resignation request from Rita Kananer, 6th grade teacher at Riverview Middle School, effective at the end of the 2018-19 school year. Rita has been with the school district for 13 years.
We need to act upon these resignation requests. So do we have a motion and a second to approve these 3 changes?
I make a motion that we accept the resignations from these 3 staff.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, say no. Now, the support staff update doesn't require our approval, but Superintendent Dassow does keep us apprised of the changes.
Yep, and tonight we have Toby Stoll, custodian at Riverview Middle School, who has submitted her resignation. Toby has worked for the school district for 1 year, so we wish her our best.
The next item is the travel. We have 3 out-of-state travel requests that need to be approved, and I wonder if Dr. Dassow, you could inform us of that.
Yep, and I'll take these each one at a time, and they're all high school travel, so Dr. Rauscher is in the audience to be able to help answer any questions that you may have. The first is to consider approval of out-of-state travel request for Tracy Heimbrook, Plymouth High School agriculture, horticulture teacher, to take students to the AQHA Youth World Show in Oklahoma City, August 1st through August 5th. 2019. The cost will be paid for by parents and through fundraising, and I will say that this trip does align with our school policy.
We have
Make a
a
motion, are we going to act on each one individually? Is that-
I think it's best.
I make a motion that we approve that out-of-state travel for Tracy Heimbach.
I second.
Any comments or questions? All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, say no.
Okay, the second one is to consider approval of state travel request from Jason Sobranic, Plymouth High School Band Director, to take students to Walt Disney World in Orlando, Florida, November 19th through November 21st, 2019. Cost will be paid for by the parents and through fundraising, and this particular travel request is also in line with our school policies.
Motion and a second.
I make a motion, we approve the state travel request for Mr. Sobranic to take the band to Disney.
Second.
Any comments or questions?
I want to go.
They always need chaperones.
The bus is kind of a...
You asked.
I've been there and done that.
Same here.
All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
And our last request is a travel request from Laura Cable, Plymouth High School Spanish teacher, to take students to Columbia March 19th through the 27th, 2020. This trip aligns with school policy, and the cost will be paid for by parents and through fundraising.
I make a motion that we approve that out-of-state, out-of-country travel for Ms. Cable and her class to go to Columbia.
Second.
Any comments or questions?
Which class would they be taking?
It's actually, anybody that's in Spanish 3 or above is eligible to travel.
It's always been a really popular trip, and they get a lot from it. The kids really enjoy the experience.
Yeah, Columbia is one we haven't gone to for quite a while, but we have gone to Columbia once before.
They've been doing Costa Rica.
Yep.
It's every other year, right? So it's usually juniors and seniors.
Yeah, but this will be, yeah, because we have a trip this year, and then we'll have a trip next year.
This is like over spring break time frame, I think, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
And Columbia came up because the Colombians come visit us almost every fall.
Yes.
And so this is an opportunity to really make it an exchange again and have our students visit their schools and their families.
We have had a motion and a second. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, say no. The next thing is the president's report, and as I contemplate what's appropriate for a president to report on, it seems like what the school board does. Sometimes people say, what exactly does the school board do? And this month, the magazine that we get from Wisconsin School News, from Wisconsin Associated School Board, is all about the art of boardsmanship. And I thought the most succinct description of what a school board does, and there he says, they create the conditions that enable others to achieve. And I think we want our students to achieve, and in our vision, if our teachers are achieving, our students are going to achieve. And so in its most succinct, there's 5 different functions that have been outlined for us by the National School Board Association that we have adopted as the 5 functions of our school board, and that is vision, accountability, policy, relationships, and community leadership. So what I would envision is in the next few months, I'll dig into those a little bit with the school board report. But something happened here earlier in the meeting that I think is, Tony, you had personal experience with something that was presented to us. But if that presentation hadn't happened, you might not have been in a position to offer that to us. And so I think it would be an interesting thing is through our individual interactions in the school district, it's our superintendent's job to report on the school district as a whole, but you're going to observe some things like that I think would be good for our community to hear about. And if you do have that, I would like to be able to include that in the president's report, give you the opportunity to say, hey, here's something I observed that was really interesting and unique. So in terms of report, that's what I have at this point, but we do need to discuss the summer board meetings. In the previous few years, we have changed this Tuesday night meeting from 7 o'clock to 5 o'clock, and primarily to accommodate the administrators who participate in this, that they can get on with their day rather than have to stay through the evening hours. And I'm wondering if that would be something that this school board would want to do for the months of June and July and August.
Can we bump it to 5:30 for those of us who are traveling from a significant distance?
We can do what works best for this board. It's our decision to make, so.
5:30 would work fine for me, too.
Yep, I'm good with 5:30. 5:30. Certainly is better than 7 o'clock, isn't it? So that's great.
Especially with all the wonderful evening things that we have going on in town. It's nice to be able to get out.
That we're having.
Pardon?
It's great weather we're having.
Eventually, June, July, and August, we're hoping
Okay, yeah,
for better.
good. Well, let's hope so.
Yes, absolutely.
Do we need to make a formal approval of that, or is just this discussion sufficient?
Yeah, and I would definitely just make sure that we get it out there like we always have the last 3 years, Jamie, so that we all know.
Very good. So the June meeting would be at 5:30 on the third Tuesday of the month. And that's it for the President's report. Superintendent Dassa, what do you have to report on?
Well, tonight, I have the privilege of being able to talk about student and staff accomplishments, but as you all see, we have a few students in the audience tonight, and I want to just, under student accomplishments, be able to talk a little bit about our AFS program. So this year, our Plymouth High School graciously hosted 9 AFS students from 9 different countries. The number included 3 students from the YES program, which is a state-sponsored exchange program. All 9 students participated in extracurricular activities, including soccer, tennis, cross-country, swimming, musical, fall play, forensics, basketball, homecoming committee, plus many volunteer activities. Of our AFS students, we have 2 that will be receiving diplomas here at the Plymouth High School, and 1 student who is receiving the Catherine B. Stayer Scholarship at Lakeland next school year. From Ann Whedon, who has worked with the program, she states that all students will agree that Plymouth is a great place to be hosted. This has not been a year in a lifetime, but a lifetime in a year. So I do want the students to stand up and at least say their names and where they've come from. If you could just please do that in the audience, that would be very nice of you. Just let the board know who you are. And
hi everyone, my name is Srino Rujdi. I am from North Macedonia, that is Southeast Europe.
Hello, my name is Marco. I'm from Italy, and I'm one of the guys that's graduating from this high school.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Mohammed Karakish. I'm from Jordan. I'm Tobias Sorensen, and I'm from Denmark.
I'm Jimena Madawat from Spain. I'm Marta Hamdukholstad from Norway.
Thank you. Ms. Whedon said that this group has been one of the most active groups that we've had, that they have just participated so much in the Plymouth School District, and I want to thank you so much for sharing a year of your life with us. Thank you so much. And I do want to just also recognize Claire Solacek, Ann Whedon, and Pat Gaffney, who work with this program and bring this wonderful program here to the Plymouth School District. Thank you again. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, and then the next thing I'm going to just talk about quickly is our Plymouth High School students at the awards banquet last Wednesday received $2.2 million in scholarships. I think that it is something to be very proud of. I went to the page to try to find who I'm going to highlight, and it's really difficult because there's so many students who receive so many amazing awards. But just a couple, Michael Troca won the Kohler Scholarship, which is a county scholarship. We won that in 2016, and once again, Michael, we were able to win it back here in Plymouth. Michael Troca, $80,000. Max Hassel was able to receive a $300,000 United States Military Academy Scholarship for West Point. William Burkholtz, $189,179 Army ROTC Scholarship. And then, again, I just want to, first of all, congratulate all of the students, and please encourage everyone to go on the website to see the wonderful awards by all the students. But I would like to also announce that our class exemplar for 2019 is Louis Gentine. And again, that's a very proud award, and he will be doing the graduation speech at graduation. So congratulations to Louis. Our calendar, we have Memorial Day, no school on May 27th. May 30th, I want to remind everyone of the Engineering, Design, and Development program that's going on out at the Leonard Gentine Center. I believe it starts at 6:30, and anybody would like to join and see our students perform their projects after 4 years in our engineering program, you're welcome to do so. June 2nd is graduation. Those of you who are going to be handing out diplomas, please see Katrina and make sure that she has your name. June 6th is our last day of school. And June 17th, we start summer school all up and get ready to go again. So everyone will be returning, hopefully, for summer school. Keep in mind that summer school is at the Horizon School and at Riverview Middle School, and that it's 4 days a week this year. And I do want to just also say that our next board, Committee of the Whole meeting, June 10th, will be at 5 o'clock, but it'll be in room C109 because the boardroom as we know it won't exist anymore. So we will be in room C109 for the next board Committee of the Whole meeting. And we'll have that posted appropriately, and Jamie, we should make sure we get that out on the website too. So
access the doors down in the
yes,
Kind of across from community ed.
That should be open.
Yep. That will be
I was going to
open.
call it C-section because that's what it was.
Right.
Many years ago.
The Science and Technology
The Science and
Center.
Technology Center.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, that completes the items on our agenda. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
I second it.
All in favor, say yes.
Yes.